All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of The Urban Gardener. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today on this episode. If you have a chance right now, please hit that subscribe button. Follow along with more garden adventures here on The Urban Gardener. Today, we're going to talk a bit about plant spacing. Now, in my opinion, it's one of those first lessons for gardeners to learn. But before we do that, let's talk about these plants right behind me now. So this last fall, in our side alleyway garden here, we planted out our garlic. I'll put an iCard right above right now for that episode, and you can check that out. We planted out our garlic right before the wintertime hit, so it can lay dormant inside of the ground during the wintertime, which helps the garlic grow and get its bulbs nice and good size. It's also interplanted along with a lot of our spring flowers. It's one of the things you'll notice once those spring flowers are done and cut. These garlic plants just seem to take right off. Now, one of the things that you'll see in that video filmed earlier this fall is that we chose our garlic bulbs and cloves from a few different sources. Farmers market, and we also got them out of the organic section of our supermarket. These are a couple of different varieties we have planted in this bed here. Hey, how's it going, Carl? Out in the garden today, hanging out? How you doing, buddy? Now, around the back side of our back alleyway here, we've planted out couple more of the varieties there. I believe one of these is our elephant garlic. But our garlic's doing really well. We will be looking to harvest this out probably in just a few weeks. Now on our side alleyway raised bed that we built, we've got ourselves some cabbages growing here. First off, you see that guy? Keep him away from your plants, as he's now swarming my cabbages in order to try to lay eggs up underneath of the leaves and leave behind little cabbage worms to eat up my plants. So we don't want those guys anywhere near our plants. But back to the idea of spacing here. My cabbages, I'm utilizing more of the square foot gardening method, and that's a good method for a lot of people to study up on and figure out when you want to learn about plant spacing and even more intensive type plant spacing as well. Some plants can be pretty close together, but like I said, you got to be anticipating the idea of what your plants are going to look like when they're fully grown and the space they need at that point when you're planting your plants in. So this bed right now looks really sparse. It doesn't look like there's very much in there. A lot of soil you're seeing right now, but in just a few weeks, most of these plants will take up all of that space and it'll look really full. Now back to getting that butterfly. Get him, Carl. Get him. I'm afraid I might lose a plant here. To talk just a little bit more about plant spacing, we've gone across the street over here to my neighbor's house, and they are starting their first garden here at their home in their backyard and asked me to come over for some advice on their planting. So we're going to take a look at some space that they planted out some peppers and show you a good example about beginning gardening and plant spacing. right here in my neighbor's yard. It's a little patch of peppers that they planted out. It's a really good example here on our plant spacing about being a new gardener and just getting into gardening. You see these plant starts and you see them at the size that they are, and you just put them next to each other because it fills out that space. The problem is that these plants are going to grow full size. And what do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different pepper plants and probably about 4 square feet here. And that's just probably not going to cut it for these plants ultimately. So, as I'm advising my neighbors here, is to thin these out and leave them about a square foot each. If you want to be a little more intense with growing them, about a square foot each should work, because these plants are going to grow into a full-size plant, and it's going to need the space around it in order to get all the good light and all of that to make some good fruits for you, especially on a pepper plant. And it being so crowded caused these to not grow as well, and probably not produce as well either. So also another example here on our above ground raised bed on the back patio area. We've planted out what are some broccolis and some Brussels sprouts. And intermingling in between there, we've got some lettuces and these different plants. Now the idea here is our broccolis will grow tall, form their crowns, and underneath, under the shade of the broccolis, will be these different lettuces. Same with the Brussels sprouts. They'll grow really tall, create a certain level of shade for the other different greens we got growing around underneath of it. So hopefully, as all these plants grow like they should, we'll have a nice full bed taking up most of our space. Over here we have this. It's just a bunch of different greens that were thrown in a lettuce mix, one of those seed packets you can get that has various different types of lettuces growing in. So I just spread that around. Most everything's growing at an all right spacing. There's a couple of spots where I might need to thin it out just a little bit more. And then over here we've got our radishes growing. Now down in here, if we can get a good view, you'll see that they are spaced out enough to have plenty of space for each of those roots to form. Nice radishes. And then here in front of that, we've got some carrots that are looking like they're just about ready to start being thinned out, where we've got them bunching up here. We'll just get in and take out the smaller ones and give the bigger ones just a little bit more space to grow. So we've kind of covered a few different plants here throughout our gardens here and my neighbor's garden to kind of show that there's just ways that we need to be looking and taking care of our plants a little bit better when it comes to plant spacing and ensuring that they have enough room to grow to their fullest potential. And when they get crowded out, they start to lose their productivity. They're not going to produce as much for you, and you want to get as much food as possible out of your garden. So you got to be thinking about the space that those plants are going to need. And there's other plants out there that we didn't even show. Think of like an artichoke. That thing's going to take 4 or 5 feet or more. So you really want to get in and research individual plants to assure that you're giving them the proper amount of spacing. Now, I want to thank you all so much for joining me today on this episode of The Urban Gardener talking about plant spacing. Please give this video a big thumbs up. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or anything at all, hit me up in the comments section below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and follow along with further adventures here on The Urban Gardener. We can see you on the next episode. So, all right, this is usually about the point in time that you will get to see some blooper videos, or sometimes I'll put in a little clip about Carl. I think we did that last episode. I usually also do a lot of thank yous to people throughout my video and everything, but this is a special part of the video. It's the end, it's an end segment, and for those of you who stick along with the video all the way to this point, I want to send a very special thank you to you guys. It's something to have an audience watch your YouTube channel, but to have people completely watch your videos or put comments down below is a very, very special thing. I really, really want to thank you. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks for following along with me and my garden adventure here on The Urban Gardener.